Good morning, students. Have you all did the eye exercise? Make sure you're doing it every day before watching the video content to keep your eyes healthy and take healthy foods and keep your surroundings and yourself healthy and hygienic. The last class we started with the new lesson in chemistry. What is the lesson? Atomic structure. Today we are going to see the continuation of the lesson. Before that, let us see something interesting fact about an atom. Last class itself we saw there is large empty space present inside the atom. Yes or no, children? After Rutherford model, from the observations, what did he told? From his observation, he said there is large empty space present inside the atom. If there is no empty space in the atom means, if there is no space between the atoms means, the entire human population could fit into an apple. Since there is space in an atom, we are present in macro in size and we are all macroorganisms. If there is no space, we all will be micro in nature. So we can be, the human population, the world population can be fit into an apple. Isn't it interesting? Yes. Okay, let's recap what all we discussed in the last class. So in the last class we saw timeline of an atomic structure, that is the history. So first who came? Democritus, followed by John Dalton, followed by J.J. Thomson, who gave the plum pudding model, and Rutherford. What did Rutherford said? He said the atom is having a large empty space by using an alpha ray scattering experiment. He did this alpha ray scattering experiment by using an alpha source. The alpha source is passed through a thin gold foil. He chose gold foil because it is highly malleable. So when he did this experiment, he found that most of the alpha particles were undeflected and few were slightly deflected and few were bouncing off the nucleus. So from this he was able to observe there was a large empty space present inside the atom, and the positively charged mass is present in the center of the atom, which is called a nucleus. How he identified it is positively charged? Because the alpha source also is positively charged, and if it is deflecting means like charges will repel each other. So something positive is present at the center. So he said the nucleus is present in the center, which is positively charged. And what did he told? The size of a nucleus of an atom is very small compared to that of the size of an nucleus, and then the electrons revolve around the nucleus in the circular path. We call it as orbit. If that is the definition of orbit also we saw. And the atom as a whole is electrically neutral because electrons are positively charged, which is revolving around the nucleus, and the nucleus is also electrons are negatively charged and the nucleus is positively charged, and plus and minus will cancel each other. So this is how the model of an atom of Rutherford was looking like. He said this is similar to that of the solar system, like nucleus which is at the center like sun, and the electrons like planets revolving around the sun. There were some limitations. What were the limitations? He was not able to say the stability of an atom. For example, if an electron is continuously revolving around the nucleus, it should lose its energy at one point of time and it should fall inside the nucleus. But it is not happening, so he couldn't explain why it is. So, having this question, Niels Bohr, a person called Niels Bohr is coming inside in 1913. So, he is coming into a picture in 1913. Niels Bohr, he is a Danish physicist. He explained the cause of the stability of an atom in a different manner. So that was, which was not explained by Rutherford, was explained by Niels Bohr in 1913. So he is the person, it is Niels Bohr. So he is giving the postulates. So what are the main postulates? First point, in an atom, the electrons revolve around the nucleus in a stationary circular path called orbits or shells or energy levels. So this is an definition of an energy level or orbit or shell. If they ask define orbit or define shell, you have to write this point. So what is saying? The electrons are revolving around the nucleus is a stationary path. Stationary path means what? In a fixed path. While revolving around the nucleus in an orbit, electron neither neither loses or nor gains energy. So while revolving, they don't give out energy or they don't gain energy, they simply revolve around the nucleus, which is the second point. Now third point, an electron in a shell can move to a higher or a lower energy shell by absorbing or releasing fixed amount of energy. So if you see here, the electron, you see number of shells 1 2 3 4. In the center you are having a positively charged nucleus. So while it is revolving in its own orbit, it will not radiate any energy. If it want to jump to an higher energy level from first shell to second shell, if it want to jump, it will lose some energy. If it is coming back, it will gain some energy. From second shell to first shell, if it is coming, means it will gain some energy. So only when the energy will be radiated, when it is moving from higher level to lower level or lower level to higher level, absorption or releasing of energy will take place respectively. And the orbits or shells are represented by letters K, L, M, N. Can you see here? One which is closest to the nucleus, it is K, followed by L, M and N, and they are also numbered as 1 2 3 4. Okay children, the orbit closest to the nucleus is what? K shell. It is having least amount of energy. Remember, the one which is very closest to the nucleus, it is having lesser amount of energy, and the electrons present in it is called what? K electrons, and so on. The energy will be increasing. So the L shell will be having energy more than that of K shell. Then followed by M will be having the highest energy. And who will be having the highest energy? N shell will be having the highest energy. K shell will be having the least energy. The electrons present in them will be called as K electrons, L electrons, M electrons and L electrons. Is it clear children? And there was also some limitation for this Bohr's model of an atom. He was also not 100% sure or correct. One of the main limitation was this model was only applicable to hydrogen and hydrogen like atoms. Who are hydrogen like atoms? What is in hydrogen? How many electrons are present in hydrogen? Only one electron is present in the hydrogen. So if you take hydrogen, means number of electrons present in hydrogen is 1, number of protons or neutrons is present in 1. Hydrogen like means helium is having 2 electrons. So if I write the symbol of helium is He. If I write He plus, means I am removing 1 electron there. So it is having 2 minus 1, 1. Actually you can see here, helium is, the atomic number is 2. Is it clear? The atomic number of helium is 2. I am writing it as He plus, which means I am removing 1 electron in helium, which is represented as He plus. It is going to have only 1 electron, which is represented as He plus, and it is also similar to that of hydrogen. Is it clear? Same way, if you take lithium, the number of electrons in lithium is 3. Li 2 plus means I am removing 2 electrons, then it is going to have Li 2 plus, which is resembling an hydrogen, and so on. So if you further continue with the other electrons, this particular model of Bohr's model of an atom is not applicable to other atoms, which is multi-electron nucleus. So more than 3 it is not possible. More than, from carbon you can say. Okay, till boron it is possible. This Bohr's model is applicable. With more number of electrons, this model is not applicable. Are you clear? This particular model is applicable only for hydrogen like atoms. It could not be extended to multi-electron system. Next, we are going to see the discovery of neutrons. So in 1932, James Chadwick, he exposed alpha particles with the same mass as protons. He saw the emission like So what did he do? Neutrons were present in the nucleus, yes or no? Where the neutrons are present, it was present in the nucleus. So neutrons was same mass and size of the proton itself. They are neutrally charged. So first what he did was, can you see where the neutrons are present? It is present at the center inside the nucleus. So he did the alpha particles into beryllium. Chadwick smashed means he is forcing the alpha particles into beryllium, a rare metallic element, and allowed the radiation that was released to hit on the another target. For example, he's like in alpha ray scattering experiment, the rays were coming and hitting on the zinc sulfide. Here he is using a paraffin wax. The experiment results showed a collision with the beryllium atoms would release massive neutral particles with Chadwick, to which Chadwick named it as electrons. Now what he is doing, he is taking beryllium to which he is forcing the alpha ray. What happens? He is getting carbon along with the another massive neutral particles to which he is naming it as neutrons. So here you can see you can take helium also, or alpha ray is what? Actually already I told you, alpha ray is nothing but an helium. So this is He, helium. Okay, he is doing the experiment. When he hit the alpha rays on beryllium, what it is happening? He is getting carbon along with the neutral particle that he is naming it as neutrons. Okay, so finally after doing all this, we are able to get the charge, symbol, name of all the subatomic particles, yes or no? So J.J. Thomson gave an idea of an proton and Rutherford gave the idea of an electron with this alpha ray scattering experiment, and neutrons were discovered by James Chadwick with his own experiment. So now we are having three types of particles, that is subatomic particles which is present inside an atom. So this is how you have to represent proton as P plus. So in the coming topic and all, we will be writing as P, N and E only. Okay, so you have to remember. And its charge is +1. Relative atomic mass is, it is 1. Okay, actual mass is 1.67 into 10 power minus 27 kg. Neutron symbol is N. It has no charge. Its relative mass is 1. Actual mass is 1.67 into 10 power minus 27. And electron is E minus and charge is -1. Relative mass is 1 by 1840, which is very negligible, and its actual mass is 9.11 into 10 power minus 31. Is it clear, children? So these are the subatomic particles. Now if you see this, you can now we have an idea of an structure of an atom. Now the overall picture we have framed. The scientists have framed the overall picture, that is the atom is built up of an subatomic particles. The three subatomic particles were electrons, protons and neutrons. So if you see here the two structural part of an atom, the nucleus and the empty space in which there is an imaginary path called orbits. So can you see here the imaginary path is called as orbit. Actually it is not present, that is our imaginary path. For our understanding, scientists gave like this. I will show you how an exact atom will look like, and the one which is present at the center we call it as nucleus. So what is the definition of nucleus you will give now? The protons and neutrons, collectively called nucleons, are found in the nucleus of an atom. So if for 1 marks I am asking, neutrons and protons are collectively called as what? Nucleons. Orbit. What is an orbit? It is defined as a path by which the electrons revolve around the nucleus. Now we have proton, electron, neutron, and the path of an electron also we have. Where this proton and neutron are present also we know. Now shall we see the structure of an atom? Yes. See here, this is how the structure of an atom will look like. So can you see the electrons revolving around the nucleus? This is for carbon. The atomic number of carbon is 6. Now we are going to see boron. The atomic number of boron is 5. In the first shell you will have 2 electrons. In the second shell you will have another 3 electrons. So how to fill the, so this is the actual, this is how the atom looks like actually. Okay, the orbit is an imaginary path. Is it clear, children? Now let us find out how to place the electrons, how to arrange the electrons. Before that, we want to know what is the atomic number and what is the mass number.